I have been wanting to talk about Goosebumps for a while, and I have talked about it before on this channel, but not to an extent that has fully satisfied me. And I wasn't really sure what to do about it until the last video I made, where I went on a bit of a tangent talking about Goosebumps covers. So in a way to fulfill the Goosebumps craving in my heart, and also a way to continue our discussion on book covers from last time, I promise we'll take a break from book covers after this, I decided to go through every single of the original Goosebumps book covers and rank them on a tier list. Now, I'm definitely not the first person to do this, so I'm not gonna claim originality here, but I just really wanted to talk about Goosebumps, so this will give us a chance to look at all of the original cover art and see how effective they are as covers for, children's horror novels. But it's also a nice opportunity for me to, talk about some of these books, the ones that I remember, and yeah, I just think we will have a grand old time. First, a bit of background. Of course, I did grow up with the Goosebumps series. While I wasn't born until near the end of, the original 62 book run, they were still staples of children's literature, always filling up the book fairs. R.L. Stein, of course, continues to pump them out to this day, so there was pretty much no escaping Goosebumps. And similarly, while I did miss the original run of the TV series, I ended up watching a lot of it through DVDs that you could rent at the time, and I would also go back to the show, many years later with my friends, sort of reliving them. Now, I have a lot of respect for Mr. Jovial Bob and what he was able to do here, because while not all of these stories, hold up under scrutiny, reading it as an adult, it is very, very difficult to make effective horror for children, because children are, babies. They're idiots, they're losers. And if they think something is too scary, they will leave. So hitting that right balance of, scaring the kids but making them want more is something that not a lot of people can do. And clearly what Bob did, worked. And I think that's why it still continues to this day, as we're still getting new books, still getting new shows. There really doesn't seem to be an end in sight. But for now, we are going back to the original covers. Now, these are ones that I'm very nostalgic for, even though they had updated the design, when I was old enough to read these. Most of the original covers were the same, and because I read a lot of Goosebumps through buying them in bulk at, used book fairs and libraries and stuff, I still have a strong connection to, that original print run. This is not going to be a tier list based on these books. I have not read some of these books in so long, but if I do remember anything about them, I will be sure to mention it as well. So starting off with Welcome to Dead House. Iconic. One of the first Goosebumps books I had read, and of course that ending twist, was crazy. Of course, it's nothing too crazy now, and that type of thing has been done to death, but yeah, it was a great first cover. The perspective on the house and the colors are so cool, so creepy. We got the little zombie guy in the window. Now, Stay Out of the Basement, I think, is even better. This one is, absolutely terrifying. I mean, this whole book, spooked me to my core. I remember the girl cuts her dad open with an axe or something, and, it was the green monster one, but we didn't know that. That was pretty hardcore. Jesus, man. In the next print run, this was actually one of the few covers they changed, and nah, not it. Monster Blood, I think, is a solid one. It's got this mystery, oh, what is the monster blood? Where is it coming from? Is there a monster bleeding on the top of these stairs? I don't believe that was actually the case, but yeah, a decent cover. Now, Say Cheese and Die is, one of those classic quintessential Goosebumps books, but this cover honestly doesn't do a ton for me. It's kind of false advertising, too, because this camera doesn't actually kill people at all. And so, why are the skeletons here? It's not even particularly spooky. They're just, at a barbecue, Curse of the Mummy's Tomb? Yeah, mummies are pretty scary. I'll put this up in B. Not a super memorable one. I low-key kind of forgot that this one existed. But for sure, I can see the appeal here. Let's Get Invisible. I mean, it's an okay cover, I guess. I don't get many, spooky vibes from it, but, it can be cool, as a kid, seeing this picture of another kid going invisible, ooh, if you were a kid and you turned invisible, what would you do? It gives me that sort of vibe, and, it's cool. You know what, I think I'm gonna move it up to B. Yeah, not too bad. The Night of the Living Dummy, I mean, icon of all icons, Slappy the Dummy basically became R.L. Stein's Mickey Mouse, always leading the reprints. He has shown up in multiple stories, is the mascot of pretty much every adaptation. And yeah, this first original cover showing Slappy in full form is absolutely bone-chilling. Fantastic design here, taking something that is normally seen as harmless and humorous, but paired with the creepy lighting, yeah, this one had me spooked. The Girl Who Cried monster, I don't know, it's just a guy. It's just a creepy looking guy, like, you know. Gonna put that in C here. Camp Nightmare, however, gonna put this top of A. This one is horrifying. It especially affected me as a kid because, you know, I was in Scouts and I was always going camping. And this image, it was not something that I was too pleased with, let me tell you. And this book was also memorable for having one of the most insane twists I have ever seen. And I cannot believe that Stein did that. Completely insane, but yeah, very memorable. The Ghost Next Door, I feel like there's so many better things you can do with this. Like, to me, this could easily have also been the cover for Let's Get Invisible. Like, yeah, it's whatever. Haunted Mask, another fantastic, iconic masterpiece of a cover. And this was actually my first Goosebumps book. I remember getting it one Halloween and my dad reading it to me, and my goodness, I could not sleep that night. I was actually probably a bit too young to read Goosebumps at this point, so it might have been a while before I, you know, was reading them on my own. But man, what a freaky book, and that image is absolutely the main reason why. Be careful what you wish for. This one just looks off to me. I don't know, like the girl's face, the lighting, something about it just doesn't work at all. I'm sorry, man. And Piano Lessons Can Be Murder. Like, I don't know. You know, this one is iconic, you know, mainly for its episode of the TV show, you know, like, your hands, your beautiful hands, I need your hands.
Your beautiful hands. Beautiful hands.
But this cover does leave a bit to be desired, unfortunately. Werewolf of Fever Swamp, another classic, iconic. Not much else to say here. You know, it really gives you this striking image of the werewolf. You know exactly what to expect. I believe I actually read this one in graphic novel form, because that was the thing they were doing for a while. So that was fun. You Can't Scare Me? Yes, you absolutely can. There was this show in Canada called Mystery Hunters, and it was about these two kids going around and, you know, like learning about cryptids and ghosts and mysteries and stuff, and I absolutely loved it, but there were moments in the show that were very scary for a little kid, and one of them involved a swamp monster, and literally it gave me nightmare. Like, I could not watch the show for months afterwards.
People have been seeing strange creatures in this Louisiana swamp. They've even been able to make copies of some of their footprints. If swamp monsters really do exist, I'm gonna try and meet them on their home turf.
And this cover always reminded me of that. And yeah, so this one, probably not S tier, it's not that iconic, but it was definitely one that bumped my geese for sure. One Day at Horrorland is iconic, another classic, but I don't know, this one was never one of my favorite covers. You know, the goofy monster hanging on the sign just seemed like a bit much to me, but I still think it deserves at least a B here. Speaking of bees, oh god, Why I'm Afraid of Bees, yeah, like, you see, most of these books that I haven't read were because the covers looked extremely stupid, and this one is kind of laughable. I think it's become a bit iconic in just how ridiculous it is, but yeah, not really effective in the slightest. Yeah. Monster Blood 2, now we're talking. You know, the first book was teasing us on what the Monster Blood actually is, and here we're sort of seeing what it's done to this poor hamster. And yeah, I think this is a decent cover. You know, evil hamster, not necessarily scary, but it's a bit intriguing. You want to figure out, you know, why the Monster Blood came back. Now, these next few, I'm kind of surprised didn't come earlier, because I always saw them, you know, as classics. But right up until the end, I think we'll see that Stein was making some bangers. Deep Trouble is up there, man. I might put this here. Like, I am someone with a bit of thalassophobia, you know. I've never really been in the open ocean, but it's just something that has always bugged me. And I think that's all because of, you know, Dire Docks in Mario 64, but if there were, you know, like a second cause, it would probably be the cover for Deep Trouble, because I don't like this man. Hell no. And the Scarecrow Walks at Midnight. Oh my god. Scarecrows are scary. The one on this cover, terrifying. All around, just incredible stuff here. Go eat worms. I... That... All I can think of is that like mid 2000s movie with like the war where they were eating worms. Yeah, like this doesn't scare me. They're worms. Like what the hell are you doing here? Probably stick that here. Ghost Beach, I also think is an S tier. This one was so scary. Like, I don't actually know if I even read this book. I remember just being, like, so terrified of the cover. But I at least watched the episode of the show, and I do remember that being quite scary as well. Just such a creepy image. Like, this ghost here, he ain't playing no games. Return of the Mummy, I guess the mummy came back, I suppose. I don't really know the context of his return, but it is what it is. And I don't think this one is nearly as effective, because I actually think his sarcophagus is way less scarier than he is. Phantom of the Auditorium, I mean... It's just a guy again. Like, I mean, sure, he's got a mask, which might scare some kids, but I don't know. The ones that are, like, just a guy don't really do much for me. And, you know, a few years later, Disney would put out The Phantom of the Megaplex, which was far superior. Attack of the Mutant, this was a weird one, man. Dealing with, like, superheroes and comic books and stuff. Honestly, kind of cool that Stein did something so different here, but I don't know, this cover's a bit much. Looking like some D-list DC character that James Gunn would make popular like 20 years later. My Hairiest Adventure, Kevin McAllister looking ass. What the heck? I remember the episode of this in the TV show. It's so dumb. It's just like a kid gradually turning into a dog, which, you know, I guess is kind of a scary concept, but this cover was just a bit too goofy. Like, I understand why you want to have some goofy covers to appeal to, you know, kids who might not be into the scarier stuff, but I don't know, those ones just never caught my attention. Night in Terror Tower, oh, hell yeah, this dude. Really cool cover, really menacing. I mean, this guy is just scary, honestly, with his giant axe. I'm gonna stick that one on the top of B. Cuckoo Clock of Doom. Like, some of these things, you know, granted, it is very hard to make them scary. I mean, it's a goddamn cuckoo clock. Well, this bird just looks like I don't know, a Muppet reject. Like, what the heck, man? Yeah, probably there. Just when you thought 2 Monster Bloods were too much. Here's Monster Blood 3, baby. And again, I think this one is okay, probably on par with Monster Blood 2. I think this image of this giant kid really just, you know, conjures stuff in your head, like, what the heck happened to this? How does this kid deal with anything? It's like Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, you know? It's crazy stuff. And I do think, you know, kids putting themselves into that situation can be pretty scary, because it is a pretty wild scenario. What the heck is this one called? Something about a sink? Hold on. It came from beneath the sink. It sure did. This was like about an evil sponge or something. Some of the premises here were kind of cracked. Like you can tell Robert didn't always put a ton of time and thought into them, but that's okay. You're writing for babies. And honestly, I don't think this one is too bad. Probably stick it in B here. You know, creepy eyes in the dark corner. You know, it's effective. Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's still a sponge. Alright, Night of the Living Dummy 2 made me no longer scared of Slappy, because what on earth is this? I get, you know, they're probably going for the contrast here, you know, this cutesy child's bedroom, but to me the colors sort of overpower the presence of Slappy, and this does not frighten me in the slightest. I mean, it is still great seeing Slappy again, so I probably won't stick it in D tier, but yeah, not one of my favorites. The Barking Ghost. I remember being pretty spooked by this one as a kid. Not much else about it, though. I do think the cover is really strong, though. I mean, you know, it's a scary dog. You know, and dogs can be scary. You ever try to poke a pit bull as a kid? Like, you know, you're probably traumatized for life, if not dead. The Horror at Camp Jelly Jam. You know what? I'm gonna stick this one in A, just from how much this cover messed me up. I could not sleep for days after seeing this face, let me tell you. It is so off. There are so many things wrong with it that I think it just works as an effective horror cover. Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes. These guys, I wouldn't call them underrated, because I do think their stuff is actually pretty popular. I think they had a big role in one of the movies. But look at this, man. The drip is unbelievable. As the kids would say, the Rizzler has arrived, in the form of 2 garden gnomes. Banger cover, iconic, great book. Shock Run Shock Street, it's okay. You know, it's a giant bug. Bugs can be scary up close. We've all seen SpongeBob. Haunted Mask 2, quite the step down from the first one, unfortunately, but I still think this one is decent to good. alright. Still a pretty creepy mask, but it just really pales in comparison to the original. Headless Ghost. Now, on further inspection, I don't really know if this cover is all that scary, because, while it is a headless ghost holding his head, it's still just the ghost of a guy. Just a normal guy. I think that, headless imagery was what really got to me as a kid, but looking at it now, I mean, sure, it's fine. Definitely B tier, but nothing too crazy. The Abominable Snowman of Pasadena. So when I was like a little kid and an idiot, like I'm from Newfoundland and there's a town in Newfoundland called Pasadena. I thought that this book took place there. Like I was an idiot, But I actually remember this one quite a bit, especially its ending, which kind of freaked me out. This one wasn't necessarily like scary, but definitely some chilling stuff happened in it, let me say. And the cover's fine. It's alright. Stick it in B. How I Got My Shrunken Head. I don't really care. This cover doesn't really do much for me. It's just a creepy shrunken head, I guess. Yeah. And Night of the Living Dummy 3 is a step up. We get to see Slappy's whole family here, but I don't know. Nothing's really beating that close-up of Slappy in the original. It's okay. I'll probably stick it here. You know what? The more I think about it, the more I don't like part 2. Get down here. Bad Hair Day. I hate this cover. This is disgusting. What is going on here? So this one was kind of weird when I was going through all of these originally, because I do not remember Egg Monsters from Mars at all. I could remember all of these, and I swore that I knew every single Goosebumps book, but this one completely gone. Now, I know a lot of these books, never got reissued when they made new editions, and I believe this is one of them, but still, like, I recognize all of them, except for this. And probably for the best, because this is gross. I really don't like this one. Like, it just looks like vomit. Like, what's even happening here? Beast from the East. It's just like an evil koala. We're in a bit of a stinky streak here. This is a really weird book too, man. They're like, I don't know. Say Cheese and Die Again. Same thoughts as the first one. I just think it's okay. A bit of false advertising, whatever. Ghost Camp, it's no Nightmare or Jelly Jam, let me tell you. This one is more goofy than anything. Like, why is this girl walking with the ghosts in the first place? Did they just become ghosts? Like, why is their clothes still there? I don't really know what's going on here. I'm gonna move the Phantom up a bit. I feel like I was a bit too hard on him, actually. Had to Kill a Monster. Sky looks like some Monsters Incorporated looking ass. James P. Sullivan looking ass. I don't know. The monster is just like, it's too big, too fluffy, not really effective in my opinion. Top of D. Legend of the Lost Legend. This one I think is a bit infamous because a lot of people who have read the books consider this to be quite a stinker. One that I don't believe is ever reprinted again. And while I don't think this cover is very good, I don't think it's terrible by any means, so we're gonna stick it bottom of C, just like this goofy looking Viking, I guess. Like, what the heck was this book even about? Okay, quite a few stinkers in a row, but thankfully we have some bangers coming up. Attack of the Jack-o'-lanterns, yes please. That's what I like to see, some Halloween representation here. Nothing spookier than a mysterious group of kids whose faces you can't see. Very iconic stuff. Vampire Breath, so I remember this one being a lot scarier when I was a kid. The vampire doesn't do nearly as much for me as it did back then, but still effective, I think. So we're gonna go pretty high here, probably before Monster Blood. Hello, calling all creeps. This book's a banger. Absolute banger. It's like, I oddly remember more about this book than probably any other. The ending was absolutely crazy. I love the stupid lizard people and their silly little cookies. I'm gonna stick this in A. Yeah. I don't care. If people think this is too goofy and, not rad as f, get out of here, leave. Okay, Beware the Snowman is the funniest Goosebumps cover to me. Like, I don't know what it is about it. Like, the title is so silly. And just the image of this snowman, like, he looks just like an angry old man. And he's stationary. That's so lame. That's not scary. It does give me a lot of entertainment, however, so, it's at least going in B. What a weird one. How I learned to fly, I mean, you know, this kind of feels like a Let's Get Invisible type thing where it's, you know, less scary and more like, oh my god, how cool would it be if I could fly? But it's whatever, it doesn't really do anything for me. Chicken is disgusting. How did this even get made? A kid turning into a dog is one thing, but a chicken, man? What the heck? Don't go to sleep. Okay, this is a weird cover that bugs me in a lot of ways. Like, where is this arm coming from? Like, we don't see anything else in the picture. Is there just like a portal under the bed? And also the way it's like positioned, like it looks like the bed frame is going to, you know, get in the way and hurt the monster's wrist. Why not just grab him from the side? I do think it is a pretty striking image, and it's definitely one that, you know, stuck with me. But it's just a bit too weird for me to put it higher than like a low B tier, but, you know, I kind of respect it. The Blob that Ate Everyone, hell yeah. What an image. What an iconic, sloppy image. So moist. I put this in the same category as Calling All Creeps, where, you know, it's definitely ridiculous, definitely out there. You know, his giant tongue, all the bicycles from all the children that he's killed. Hell yeah. And man, The Curse of Camp Cold Lake. This was another of the ones, and I'm kind of surprised to see it, you know, appear so late in the original series. But this was one I just would not touch, man, because this cover was horrifying. That thing does not belong on the cover of a children's book. Holy mother of Christ. My Best Friend is Invisible, mega ass, super ass. Not only is this like way too goofy, you have like literally a cat doing a Looney Tunes reaction here, but we've already done like an Invisible Kid story before, probably several times at this point. Deep Trouble 2 is another massive downgrade for the sequels, unfortunately. It's just an angry looking fish. Like, that's not scary. Show me the open ocean again. Show me sharks. What the heck is this thing? The Haunted School, banger. I really enjoyed this book. This is another one I remember a lot about, and the ending, you know, was a bit traumatizing, let me say. And I think the cover is cool and really creepy with all of the eyes coming out of the thing. You know, you're a kid, you go to school every day. You know, the last thing you want is it to be haunted. Werewolf skin. So, you know how I mentioned, like, when I was older, I would go back to the original show with my friends when we would watch it? We were mostly making fun of it, because, you know, it is a very campy, cheesy 90s show that doesn't really hold up at all. But every now and then, some of the episodes I thought did a good job, and this was one that even as teenagers scared the crap out of us. So yeah, respect for Werewolf Skin. I think the cover is pretty cool. Probably gonna put it here. Yeah. Okay, these last two books, like, you can tell why the original series ended. I don't know. I think Bob had just completely run out of ideas, needed a refresh. Because what the hell is I Live in Your Basement, man? It's definitely one of the most forgettable covers for sure, which, you know, makes sense considering this thing is basically just like the egg monster from Mars. It just looks like puke. Like, what is this thing? I don't like it, and I don't care. And I mean, Jesus Christ, Monster Blood 4. Is this really how the original series went out? This is pathetic, man. Why did we only get 4 Monster Blood books and just 1 Beware the Snowman? Where you belong. Alright, so that will do it for this tier list. It was very fun going through these, you know, reliving some memories from my childhood. What an iconic, like, impressive feat, man. The fact that he pumped out 62 of these in, like, what, 6 years or something is crazy. And while they obviously weren't all home runs, to me it seems like he might have had more hits than misses. So that was it for this video. I'm going to go rewatch the Disney Plus show now, which is not very good, but honestly it's a bit better than I expected. There's a few cool things in there. If you want some bullshit to watch one night, you know, highly recommend. We're going to take a break from the book covers now for a bit. I have a haul video next up, and then probably a review of some sort. So that, thank you all so much for watching. Leave your spooky thoughts in the comments down below. What were the most memorable Goosebumps covers for you as a kid? What were some of your least favorites? And I will see you all in the next video.